Okay, picture this. The date is February 28th, 2026. It's 6:45 a.m., and a fighter jet is roaring to life on the runway of a secret airbase. This thing is armed with missiles that can hit a target the size of a dinner table from over 1,000 kilometers away. And the pilot? He has one very clear objective.
His mission is to fly deep into Iranian airspace, right over the capital, Tehran. The destination is a very specific building on Pastier Street, and the timing has to be perfect, 9:50 a.m. sharp. The mission is simple: deliver the payload and get back home.
So what's in that building? Well, a critical meeting is happening. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei is there with the country's entire top civilian and military leadership. This is a once-in-a-decade shot, a chance to decapitate an entire regime in a single blow.
And the plan? It goes off without a hitch. The strike is so precise, so completely devastating, that Supreme Leader Khamenei and 40 of Iran's most powerful commanders are eliminated. Instantly. Iran's defense minister, the senior command of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, all of them, just gone. The element of surprise was absolute. So the question on everyone's mind is,
right? How could foreign intelligence possibly know the exact time and place of a meeting that secret? How could they fly through one of the most heavily defended airspaces on the entire planet, hit a single building, and then just vanish? Well, the answer isn't a lucky shot, not even close. It's the result of an absolutely meticulous intelligence operation.
To pull off something like this, intelligence agencies had to build a complete, real-time picture of an enemy state, but from the inside out. They needed to see what officials were doing, they needed to hear what they were saying, and they had to know where they were going, sometimes even before the officials knew themselves. And how did they do it? With a decade of deep, digital penetration. For 10 straight years, intelligence agencies had hacked into Tehran's traffic cameras, piping encrypted feeds directly to servers back in Tel Aviv. They didn't just access Iran's mobile networks, they owned them. They had every call, every text, every location ping. From this ocean of data, they could track the movements of not just the big-shot officials, but their bodyguards, their drivers, profiling every single person in their orbit. In the intelligence world, this is a core concept. It's called pattern of life analysis. Basically, it's about using all that data to understand a target's daily habits so well that you can predict their next move. This digital picture, built by algorithms sifting through billions of data points, creates a target list. And on February 28th, that algorithm flags something huge. Almost everyone on that list was heading to the very same location. But data alone, that wasn't enough.
For a target this important, you need confirmation from a person. You need eyes on the ground. And they had it. The CIA had a human source, an asset, deep inside the Iranian leadership's inner circle. This person provided the final, absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle. The meeting is a go, and the Supreme Leader will be there. That's when the operation got the final green light.
The strike itself relied on 3 perfectly executed steps. First, you've got target confirmation, locked in by that human source. Second, a surgical cyber attack hits the mobile towers right around Pastier Street, creating a communication blackout. Any warning calls? They wouldn't go through. You'd just get a busy tone or a dropped call. And third, the strike package itself. 30 precision missiles fired from way outside the maximum range of Iran's air defenses. Just flawless execution.
But look, an operation of this magnitude doesn't just happen out of the blue. That 2026 strike was really just the loudest moment in a decades-long shadow war that has been raging inside Iran for years. A campaign of sabotage, assassination, and espionage, all designed to cripple the regime from within.
This campaign has been going on for a long, long time. It really kicked off back in the mid-2000s, when the Stuxnet computer worm, which was designed by the US and Israel, physically destroyed 1,000 Iranian centrifuges by making them spin completely out of control. Through the 2010s, a whole series of Iranian nuclear scientists were killed in these incredibly brazen attacks, often by assassins on motorcycles slapping magnetic bombs right onto their cars. And then in 2020, the main architect of Iran's nuclear program was assassinated on a public highway.
And get this, when they took out Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, he wasn't killed by some agent on the ground. No, he was taken out by an AI-controlled robotic machine gun that was being operated from thousands of miles away. The level of technology is just mind-blowing.
And maybe the most daring operation of them all happened in 2018. They called it the heist of the century. Mossad agents broke into a totally nondescript warehouse in Tehran in the middle of the night and just walked out with Iran's entire secret nuclear archive. We're talking 50,000 pages of documents and plans, all smuggled out of the country before anyone even knew they were gone.
So when you put all these different pieces together, you start to see the bigger picture, right? This wasn't just a series of random hits. For 20 years, Western intelligence agencies have built a complete ecosystem of espionage inside Iran. But to really understand why this shadow war is being fought, we have to go back much, much further than the nuclear program.
You see, the public justification for this shadow war is always about stopping a nuclear Iran, right? Promoting democracy, ensuring global safety, all that stuff. But the actual roots of this conflict have nothing to do with nuclear weapons. They go all the way back to 1953.
Because in 1953, Iran was a democracy. It was led by a popular, elected prime minister, a guy named Mossad. And he did something that made some very powerful people in the West very angry. He decided that Iran's oil should belong to the people of Iran. He nationalized the British-controlled oil industry.
The response was swift. The CIA launched Operation Ajax, its first-ever regime change operation. And just look at this comparison. Back then, in 1953, the goal was explicit: overthrow a democratically elected government. Today, the stated goal is to install one. Back then, the methods were funding protests and spreading propaganda. The methods have evolved, for sure, but the underlying playbook, it is startlingly similar.
And Operation Ajax worked. Mossad was overthrown, and the U.S. reinstalled the authoritarian Shah. For the next 26 years, his rule, which was backed by the U.S., created this deep, simmering resentment among the Iranian people. And that anger finally boiled over in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution, which toppled the Shah and brought to power the very same anti-American regime the world has been dealing with ever since.
And that's the crucial takeaway here. Today's conflict, this decades-long shadow war, it is not happening in a vacuum. It is a direct consequence of a covert action taken 70 years ago. The anti-Americanism that defines the current Iranian regime was forged in the fire of that 1953 coup.
Which brings us right back to that strike in 2026. This entire history shows a cycle of intervention that leads to blowback, which then leads to more intervention. So the ultimate question we're left with is this: even if you can target anyone, anywhere, does assassinating a nation's leaders, even if they're dictators, ever actually lead to a stable democracy or lasting peace?